Hello everyone and welcome to Games, Comics and Crafts.
In this series of videos, I'll be looking at the Judge Dredd case files in order and picking out the most prominent and important stories, as well as noting some artists and writers that actually appear in these books. Okay, so this is volume 19 of the case files. Really nice Bolland cover. Very cool. Unfortunately, that's it. There's no Bolland artwork inside, which is a real shame. So generally speaking, this one is a bit of a mixed bag. We're in 93, 94 now, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. 2000 AD in the 90s, wasn't a massive fan of it. There's just some things in it that got a little bit too mainstreamy with references to stuff that I had no interest in, like, the Spice Girls and, TV shows and all this kind of stuff. I was more metal. So I wanted more metal stuff. I wanted, which obviously with Bisley and other stuff we tend to get a lot more of. But um, yeah, it just got a bit weird. And I don't think we've got the depth of storylines really during this time as we are definitely getting now. Um, it's improved obviously since the 70s, where it was basically, as I mentioned in the original reviews, you know, kill the baddie, make a pun, job done. So we've got some decent stories in it, but there's some things in it that are highlights, for definite, even in this volume. Okay, so we start off with uh, this one, which is a follow-up. This is Johnny Kiss about the assassin. Enter Johnny Kiss. So Johnny Kiss is this assassin. He uses his Killmonger assassins, and they realise he's been betrayed, and they try and kill him, and he doesn't do so. His next target is Dredd. Okay, fair enough. This one's pretty good, which is the safest block on the in Mega City 1, which is the Rowdy Gates Connaught, where Dredd lives, because he does his rounds every Tuesday or whatever it is, and that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good storyline. Again, it's Brett Aaron's artwork, and Brett Aaron's artwork is his Dredd stuff seems to be strange compared to the stuff in Bad Company, which is one of my favourite 2000 AD series. It's just something a little bit different. For me, but different. But yeah, not too bad. Chieftain's pretty decent. About a guy in Calhab, the Scotland of the 2000 AD Judge Dredd world. Uh, People die in his community, and he realizes that they're in Mega City 1, so he goes off and kills them. And it's like, right, okay. He's got a chainsaw claymore, which is pretty decent. And one of the best things is he's got a little bagpipe sonic device robot that blasts people's eardrums out, which is quite funny. So yeah, that's not too bad. That goes on for a few issues. That's pretty decent. And artwork's nice as well. Still got the Type 1 Lawgiver there, which is personally my favourite one. So that's not too bad. And he kind of jumps off a building at the end. Spoiler. But I don't know if he survives or not, because I don't know if he comes back. Great Brain Robbery is Ron Smith artwork, which again, kind of classic Dredd stuff. Especially if you, as I said before, read the 2000 AD Judge Dredd Daily Star strips, which were always pretty decent in my opinion. Music Killer Live, which is a follow-up to obviously the original Music Killer. Yeah, this one again. This is the only thing, the only thing that got me to this one is he killed a load of bands in the first one, and it's like, okay, so what impact did it have? Did people start listening to the old stuff? And his friend goes, no, they didn't care. They just found some new stuff. And it's like, okay, right, I need to do something a little more bigger. So this has got the parody of The Word with Terry Christian. The only one thing it did get me to do was to try and figure out what happened to Katie Putrick, who was in The Word. She's there. Just I remember being in other shows as well. I never what happened to her. Anyway, um, yeah, not too bad. Bit silly. Again, referencing a load of bands and music and stuff that I didn't really have any interest in. So this is kind of like, when I was reading it, I think the original time, skip. Not a thing. Tough Justice. Again, artwork's pretty nice. But I think it's generally speaking a fairly straightforward storyline. This one's quite a weird one. It's got Gentleman Thief down among the dead men. It's got Gentleman Thief, which you think is the entire point of it, but he literally gets arrested within the first issue, first 2 pages, and realizing there's something going on with these dead bodies being stolen, and Dredd has to do something about it. Not too bad. Now, see, now this is the story. This is the one that I couldn't figure out because I remember looking up the listings for the storylines in this one, and it was like there was only like 7 or 8, and it's like, well, that don't seem like a lot. This is because Inferno takes up a lot of the book. So we've got Judge Janus, who is a side judge who's taking the place of Anderson because Anderson's off world. So I'm not too sure what's happening during the Anderson series of this stuff because we might be getting to I don't think we're getting to the Arthur Ranson Satan stuff. I think that's late in this. But obviously, bring Janus in, who's another one of these kind of supporting cast members that actually shows up quite a few times. And it turns out that and of course, as Claire artwork, which is always a beauty thing. I love it, love it. So basically, side judges are realizing something's going on. There's something bad going to happen, and it turns out it's ex-Chief Judge Grice, or ex-Judge Grice, who is broken everybody out of Titan, the prison moon, where they put ex-judges on there if they break the law. So they attack Mega City 1. They smash up the Grand Hall of Justice. They manage to kill a load of judges by they release this toxic gas stuff in there that's basically going to kill people in so many days. Unfortunately, it doesn't go quite so well. They've got a guy in there who's betrayed from Texas City who kind of betrays them. Magruder and everyone is kind of forced outside the city gates to when they flee, and the judges, the ex-judges, effectively take over and start issuing kind of like their own brand of law to the citizens. And it's like, oh, pay me credits or get beaten up. And it's quite a good bit here where Grice basically gets on Magruder and starts knocking the crap out of her. And Magruder's just going, "What was that? Was that a punch?" She says she's tough as nails. Magruder's seen a lot, and although I don't really like the way they draw Magruder after the way she looked originally, they've kind of really turned her into kind of that haggy kind of sea hag look that in the old Popeye cartoons. Um, as a character, she's quite cool. But Magruder doesn't have any of it. She's just basically just takes the punches. She even gets flipped off of the top of the wall and crashes, and she survives that as well. And it's like, wow, what is she made out of? Anyway, um, Dredd and Bryce have a bit of a fight. They can say they were going out in the thing. Walt he's managed to escape. Walt the robot's in the Undercity and manages to save him. And there's kind of the bad things in the Undercity. Um, Dredd doesn't have any of kind of like any time to recuperate, and he goes and takes Grice on. But yeah, this is a good storyline. Again, it's another one of them things where it kind of like you're building on previous stuff you've seen before. The ending is just weird, and it's very, very, very strange for Dredd, but it's interesting. Um, and yeah, then we've got this one, which is odd as well, which is Dredd being attacked by these people that apparently these from I think these are Sino which are the Chinese judges, and then you've got the Sovs, and then you see all the SGS come on, all this kind of stuff, and it's apparently some kind of SGS test to see what's going on with him, to see because something big's going to happen, and what's going anyway. But it's because it's going to be 18 months or so. So I think we're not going to see this in volume 20. We're going to see this in volume 21. If there's, they must plan ahead quite a lot. That's of course if it even materializes, because obviously, plans in comics sometimes just go completely out the window. I'm not too sure what's in 21 yet because I've not got 21 yet. Um, Judge Tyrannosaur is about a judge that basically, about a Tyrannosaurus Rex that is on the outskirts of the city, and it basically eats a load of people, so they want to make it a judge. Um, then we get this one, which is about an arms dealer who basically pick guy basically kills people and steals body parts and kind of makes himself. Not too bad. Artworks, okay, it's fine. Like, it's you can see what's going on. Um, this really weird one about Madonna, which is obviously a Madonna parody. And again, this is one of the artworks. The artwork, it's got some good stuff and it's got some bad stuff in it. I just don't like the supporting cast judges because they make Dredd look really heroic, and it was supporting judges look really weak and weedy, and I just don't like that. I think they look pretty rubbish. Some of the placement of and the poses and stuff look a bit odd. But it's that kind of extreme and 90s stuff where it's just like, oh, we're getting really edgy and really it's that kind of thing. Anyway, this Madonna gets caught for doing some kind of crime, and they basically give her 30 years, and they basically chuck her in a speed time stretcher, which makes her age 30 years. So she serves all of her time in like 15 minutes, and they bring her out. And so, oh, by the way, your contract's up as well, so you're not going to worry about that. Next one is the Hottie House, which we've seen before previously, where all the guys have had some kind of brain kind of operations where they're not particularly the smartest people in the book. And again, this kind of extreme artwork style. Um, yeah, it's okay. Um, this one is about Al Capone, named after the gangster, and he's kind of a bit weedy. And then you get the next door kid who is really, really violent, and they're kind of best friends. And it turns out that they've had a mix up at the hospital, and Al Capone should have been the big kid. And yeah, again, artwork wise, not too bad. Dredd looks particularly good in this one. This is another one again about this kind of, I don't know, I suppose it's Indian guy who's visiting Mega City One. But again, it's this extreme style artwork, and it just thinking, yeah, there's all of the cool things we saw, the amount of detail that Bolan puts into stuff and other people. And I just think this is just not great, you know. And I mean that it's awkward looking. Um, anyway, it's fine, but it doesn't appeal to me. Stories like this when they've got artwork that I just don't do it for me. My brain kind of switches off, and I have to really concentrate to actually kind of get anything out of them. We've got the Johnny Kiss, which is this super assassin guy who's basically escaped from prison, and it's like, okay, right, it's like, oh, Johnny Kiss looks great and all this kind of stuff, and Dredd's like, oh yeah, you should do, and it turns out that it's actually the plot of a movie of a guy in an ISO cube that it's like, it's the second time you've done this, you're gonna, you're going to go an extra 5 years. It's not too bad. I don't, not Johnny Kiss, is it? What's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name now. What's his name? Oh, Slick, Slick Dickens, yeah. So I don't think Slick Dickens exists as a real character. I think he's just a character in a movie. Um, this one about a kid who sets off a sets off a gas bomb that kills loads of people. Um, and he's the smartest kid. That's their notes him because he's the smartest kid. Then we get this again. Now this is interesting because I think that the last couple of stories may well have been in magazine. This is definitely magazine. Um, we're back to uh, Machismo, Mechanismo, um, which is interesting because if you look at it in kind of terms of the way the actual magazine was printed, we had like 8 months or so of Mechanismo the first time. Then we had maybe like two issues of something else. Then we had another lot, and then maybe we've had like 3 or 4 issues. So over the course of like 2.5 years, we've had three big Mechanismo stories, which I suppose they either must be popular or you want the momentum not to disappear so people don't forget what happened. But having the Dread story being all about this kind of one storyline is interesting because again, I didn't even realize that after that initial Mechanismo story that was in book 18, they did some sort of follow up so quickly, and this is a second follow up to the original storyline. I didn't even know this came along as well, but this is quite a good one as well. it has to be said that they've got some Mark IIs now. The Mark IIs go out and try and hunt down the original Mark One. The guys in the original tech judge who created the actual units is kind of out there looking for number 5, which is the rogue unit from the last one. Oh, it was is pretty decent as well. And eventually they kind of track it down into the sewers again where it was found originally. And even though it's gone nuts and it starts doing its own thing, he's determined to bring it back. So sending the Mark IIs to bring this one back. And Dredd is obviously not having any of it because he's completely opposed to the idea of robot judges, so that's no problem at all. So the twist to the end of this one which is that when they get to find the actual unit, the guy in the tech judge comes across one of the Mark II units and doesn't realise it's actually a Mark II unit rather than a Mark One, and he thinks that's the one he's been looking for. So he's trying to talk to it, and it's kind of just ignoring his information. The original Mark One turns up. Dredd's basically kicking the crap out of it and manages to do it, and manages to kind of pull it down. And the tech judge is following the new Mark II, convinced that he can kind of like repair it and whatever. And Dredd, after the Mark II finishes off the Mark One, Dredd blows up the Mark II with high explosive. And the guy's so kind of delusional and a little bit kind of shell shocked and whatever. He kind of explains to me, saying, "Well, you do remember what happened, don't you? It's like that Mark One that is supposed to be, whatever, at 70% working. That managed to beat your Mark Twos. The Mark Twos are so inferior that it could be destroyed by something that wasn't even working at functional. So I think they're a bit useless, aren't they?" And the kind of guy goes, "Yeah, they probably aren't as good as the original design." So it's like, so Dredd's actually manipulating him to basically convince this guy to shut down the program because they're not as good as the original ones, and the original ones are insane. So he doesn't want the Dreads, it doesn't want the units out there. Now that changes a little bit later on. He's not particularly happy about it, but they are a little bit more accepted. But the other thing is this one is that Magruder has gone too far. So that will see basically he kind of realizes that this idea of robot judges has kind of been put on ice for a little while, but there's something that needs to be done with Magruder because Magruder seems to be pushing their own agenda, and it's not the way the Justice Department works. So there's a little bit of inner tensions between the judges, which I always really like. I kind of like the idea of these kind of sub factions and stuff. And we see it a lot more in the modern stuff where some judges are convinced that they can do stuff that is beneficial to both them or the city, probably more them. But they're all kind of still working against the same kind of aim, but it's just not the same approach. And I think when you've got so many thousand judges operating in Mega City 1, which you must do over, because it's such a big area, they're all going to have their own kind of little nuances and stuff that we're doing stuff. And I quite like the idea that Dredd has got his kind of like single-mindedness, how the law should be, and anything that kind of steps outside of that is not interested in. And he's kind of like, just a little bit of manipulation and kind of influence giving to try and steer stuff in the way. And obviously Magruder's apparently had her time, so we shall see what happens in future volumes. But yeah. But all in all, like I say, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Um, Inferno and the Mechanismo stories, I think, are the two outstanding ones. Everything else is kind of interesting and kind of like fairly good story. Mostly one and done stories and a few kind of like 2 or 3 parters, but not the best volume so far. It's definitely not up there with Apocalypse War or my personal favourite, City of the Damned, which I absolutely adore. So. Anyway, there you go. So I'll stop yammering about this one. So hopefully I will see you on another video very, very soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.